Stars, did any requests?
Can I play your guitar?
Through Wonderwall. I'm a good singer. Can I sing with you?
Oh, give us another. Come on, mate. One more song.
One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song.
Right. Hello and welcome to the One More Songcast. It's Lee here.
It's Luke here. I don't know which camera to look at here. We've got two cameras with such a professional outfit now,
I know, mate. It's weird looking at you.
This is reminiscent of the old days when we was in that studio just talking to each other.
Yeah, when we used to talk like that.
So we're going to do a recap of our season one. So we've had 5 guests on, haven't we, for season 1?
We have.
We're in a bit of a break at the minute where we're recording new episodes and reflecting on our first season. Yeah. So Lee, what have we learned, do you reckon, being podcasters in 2023? What's the experience like? The expectation compared to the reality and some of the challenges we've had along the way? We've had plenty, haven't we, to be fair?
Yeah, to be honest, I think we both thought it was going to be easier than it was. I think when you looked at it, it's just 2 people talking into a mic in front of a camera. So, but then you don't actually realise how much editing goes into getting the sound right, getting it to look right, how it looks on social media, keeping the social media running.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
What started off as what we thought was probably going to be a 1-day-a-week job has turned into a 7-day-a-week, 24/7 job, generating ideas and thinking about things, thinking about guests, getting in touch with guests, everything about it has taken ages, hasn't it? What about yourself? What do you think?
We had this ambition at the start that we were going to get an episode out a week. But there's so much that goes into, and we know this as musicians, but there's so much that goes into sound. And you think, oh, well, people are just talking, but you've got to consider like position of the mic, sibilance, stuff that's annoying, background frequencies, and then you've got the video side of it as well. And the social media side has been the main thing for me because there's no good putting these lovely videos together and stuff if you're not promoting it properly on social media. So it's like designing all the different templates for the different social media sites, and it's been, we're not making out that it's been a blag. We enjoy it, but we couldn't maintain with gigs a podcast a week, could we? Well, at the minute we can't do that, so we pushed it back to 2 a week, which I think is a little bit more
doable.
Easy. Yeah, easier on us, you know. So
I think as well, like, we didn't expect to do a duo out of this either, did we?
No.
It's now turned into a trio, so that's then turned into a weekly rehearsal. So then you've got that on top of the actual podcast recording and ideas and editing and everything that goes into what makes this podcast so enjoyable. Yeah, it's just been a lot, hasn't it, mate?
It has. But I'm enjoying it. I like the fact that, you know, with a lot of these projects in life, music, sport, whatever it is, these things can sometimes crumble within the first 2 weeks, first month. You know, you might put a new band together and then someone goes and does something else. We've stuck it out, and I'm glad that we're still here doing it because it's good fun. We're learning a lot from people that are in the same industry as us. I've already learnt plenty off, you know, the people that we've had on so far. Plenty of guests to come. People are really enthusiastic about coming on as well. I suppose it's free promotion for them, but also just having a chat with people. I do feel like our goal at the start was to bring people closer together, and I do feel that. I feel like I know more musicians in the area. I understand them a little bit better, their stories and stuff like that. And I feel we're doing the good job in what we set out to do, really, you know.
Yeah, man. I think as well, like, obviously we had my bandmate Lee on, and we had Georgia on, who are people that I knew before.
Yeah.
We had Justin Crow on and Chris, who, well, Justin's taught you, Chris has taught both of us. And you feel like you're just getting to know them. Like, there's so much you didn't know about them. Like, it was like, did you even know them before this?
It's funny you should mention Justin, because one of me pals that plays in the Cavern, he'd taken a picture of Justin on the Cavern stage on Saturday night. He said, "Oh, it's your podcast, mate." So people are listening, you know. People are understanding the guests that we're having on, and you know, if they see them at a gig, they understand their story as well. So it adds to
I know him. Yeah, he was on the One More
Songcast.
Mate,
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it still feels weird a little bit, like that. Like I was at an open mic the other month, and Chris Healy's open mic at the Doghouse in Bamber Bridge, and Yeah, some guy came up to us and said, "Oh yeah, I really liked your episode of the podcast."
Yeah.
I'd never met the guy, so
Yeah.
it was really nice to get that.
Yeah, it's been a reality check at the start because without sounding big-headed, like I'm probably the same with you. On our singing pages, we get a lot of love from people that come and watch our gigs
Yeah, man,
and stuff like that. Whereas the podcast, it was very slow at the start.
Yeah.
So you'd put all this effort into, putting a really fancy picture on to advertise your podcast, and you'd get no likes or no interaction. You'd be like. But it's not disencouraged. Is that a word? Disencouraged. It's not something that's deterred me from keep going with it. I do believe that you just got to keep going with it. You just got to keep
100%,
pushing it. And I don't know where that comes from, but I think it's just because I'm enjoying it. I actually enjoy, for the most part, I enjoy the editing and I enjoy actually just sitting there tweaking bits and bats. So yeah, I think we just got to keep going with it.
100%, yeah. I
keep
mean,
improving.
We didn't get to 3,000 listeners across all the pods, and the 100 subscribers. We got there quite quickly, really.
Yeah.
So we didn't get there. If we had have stopped in the first 6 weeks, we wouldn't have even got to 100 views on an episode. I don't think. So
let's talk about our very first podcast. So it seems like ages ago. So when did we start filming? Just after Christmas, weren't it? So we started off in your former lockup. It was absolutely freezing, weren't it?
Oh man!
And then we had all the issues with like going into your studio that you're at now, and like the light battery dying and stuff like that. Stuff going out of focus. We've had to learn a lot in a short space of time.
Yeah, the 30-minute camera rule.
Yeah.
The reduction in space.
Yeah.
That was pretty bad.
Let's talk about the first. So basically, we mention it a lot on the podcast. There's a 30-minute timer on these cameras. So I think we did one of our first episodes was just me and Lee, and we did we spoke for an hour and a half. Went back to the camera, and it had only filmed 30 minutes of it. So it was like, why the hell has it done that? And we just wasted all that time jibber jabbering on with no video. And then, like I say, I kept saying to you, I think that light's dying over there, isn't it? And the camera just kept going. Sorry, the light just kept going down and down and down. Before we knew it, we were just in complete darkness, where we were just talking shit.
Yeah, mad. What would you say was the first thing you noticed, like when you're watching yourself back and editing these things? What would you say was the first thing you noticed? Because for me, it was so weird seeing myself on camera and how I looked. Like, is my face normally like that? My face is really weird.
No, I think I've probably not completely erased it yet. But on the first podcast, I was just constantly going, yeah. So say you say something, yeah. And it's not, you shouldn't really be doing that. So I'm always trying to think of ways how I can improve as a host, I suppose. I still do it a little bit, and I have to really remind myself to not do it. So if we're having a conversation, I'm just sat there going, yeah. It's just... It's no good, especially when you're clipping stuff up as well, and all you can hear in the background is you going, yeah.
I think,
stuff like that winds me up, so I'm trying to work on it.
Yeah, like the facial expressions you pull at certain points and all this sort of thing, the movements you make, it's just, why am I doing that? Then also, like, I think the more you get used to being on camera, at first, did you find you were forgetting what you were saying in the middle of a sentence? Because I actually remember on your episode where we were introducing you, you actually forgot a question of mine.
Just rambling on about something else completely.
Go, what were we talking about then? What was the question?
No, it's one of them. It's presenting, isn't it? It's not natural. It's not natural to just stare into this lens and like talk, is it? And your mind can just go blank when you're just staring into this nothingness, really. So it has been. Have you found that it's translated over to gigging? Have you become a little bit more confident talking on the mic at gigging and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think I was trying to find things to talk about a lot of gigs, because generally my talking to the audience was banter. If I'd seen someone fall over pissed, it was like, right, there's an opportunity to take the piss out of someone. But other than that, I wasn't really introducing songs. So I would say it's definitely helped with that, because just something as simple as introducing a song then builds that connection with the audience. Yeah. So yeah, I'd say it has translated over to gigs, like just talking in general now. I was gobby anyway, but I feel like it's easier to talk to an audience on stage now, definitely.
Yeah, I've not noticed it at gigs, but I've noticed it just out and about, talking to people at gigs, talking to just anybody really on the street. You can strike up a conversation a little bit easier, I feel, and you have, I don't know, it just feels a little bit more natural to have general conversation with people that you don't know.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So that's always a positive, really, because especially as a teenager, I really struggled with that. Actually, just talking to people I don't know. And I'm not saying I struggle with that now particularly, but it just feel like it's enhanced my social skills a little bit more, even if it's just a little bit. So yeah, it's not bad when we do what we do.
So obviously we did run into a few challenges, like the placement of the mics. We were finding the audio was dropping, considering the quality of my original microphone wasn't as good. We've now upgraded a couple of mics.
Got a right bad boy mic today, haven't we?
Yeah, bro.
This is the top podcaster mic that Lee's rocking today.
Yeah.
We'll see what it sounds like afterwards.
Yeah, I'm going to have fun editing this one, I think.
Yeah.
What did you find, like, particularly the first challenges were, and when did you feel like we were starting to overcome it? Like, how many episodes in did you feel like, yeah, we're getting this now?
There was an episode that we did before we came into Stephanie's studio, which we were at today, where we were just really struggling with like the loud parts and the quiet parts of somebody's speech. So say someone's, like I say, talking a little bit quieter, then they might laugh. And obviously we were trying to figure out why is it that we can't just get a consistent vocal. So we did a lot of research, and this is where the compression argument came in. So
this is where the podcast could have ended.
I mean, it's a music podcast, so I'd hope that most people would understand what compression is. But compression, in layman's terms, is just bringing the loud part. It's a plug-in, like on Logic or whatever software you use, and you can use it in live music as well, where you just bring the volume of the loudest notes down, so that it's a little bit more consistent with the quieter parts. So that took us ages to figure that out, didn't it? And this is the first time that we had a proper argument. So it was over voice note, and I was trying to convince Lee that it was compression. I can't remember what you were saying it was, but we were just having this back and forth argument over voice note, and it was like, no, I've already told you. We'll put some of the conversations in.
We want to do that. We actually want to do that because it's funny, and it also, like, I think that imperfection behind the scenes shows that it's not all smooth.
Yeah, and I thought that was the end of the podcast at one point, because we were... But to be fair, the good thing about mine and your relationship is we can overcome things pretty quickly.
Yeah, it was like, once it was done, it was like, well, we've had an argument, what can we do about it now? Just get on with it. And it was... I think the funny thing was, the reason the argument got heated is because, like, one of us was saying something, and then we were just getting that angry about it. We were also not even listening to what the other person was saying, and just hearing bits. Yeah. So it was just the case of, right, we need to probably just listen to what the other person's actually saying. And we had, I mean, there will be disagreements in that, but I think that was probably the first time where it was like, okay, we've totally misunderstood each other here. We need to just reel this in a bit.
And that took us about 4 weeks to get that episode out, didn't it? Because we were just like, we weren't happy with it, and we was like, no, we've got to set a standard here where we can't accept these things. So we put it back, and it's been good because we've figured that out now, and we ain't gonna have them same problems again. So
no, I think, and again, when you want something to go well, both of you have got frustration. You're both fighting for the same thing, really. So
I had a time where and you said it to me, you said, all I'm focusing on is this podcast. It was like the guitar practice was out the window, singing practice, all I was doing was just obsessing. Which is a good thing and a bad thing. So it enabled us just to step back a little bit and actually just, work on it, really.
Yeah, and then have you found since then your gigging's got better because you're able to focus on the gigs a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I've got quite a good routine now. Like, we dedicate today to filming. And for the next season, we're trying to get ahead a little bit more, so they're actually sat on YouTube ready to go, rather than filming on the Monday and rushing to get it out on the following Monday. We're going to have the series ready to go, aren't we? So
yeah, we've got a few episodes in the bank. We've got some really good guests. We'll talk about that later on, though.
Before we move on, we're just going to put that compression argument in now. So it's me and Lee bickering about a really small feature that you can use on editing software. So we'll pop that in now, and you can have a listen and a laugh to that. It's thankfully been the worst argument we've had, but we'll see what happens. We'll see you in a minute.
Right, sorry, I'm 30 seconds in there. It's not my vocal that's the issue. My vocal's spot on. It's your vocal.
Right, I told you this 4 times now. I've not touched your vocal.
Lee, for the 100th time, it is not my vocal, it is your vocal. Just listen back to the 1 minute 50 clip I've just sent you there. It's nothing to do with my vocal, it is your vocal.
Right, as I said, I've not touched your vocal. I know it's my vocal that's the issue. It was just that you said, I fucking haven't touched your fucking vocal. Fucking stupid cunt.
Don't fucking touch my vocal, lad.
Who you fucking talking to, lad?
Right, okay, Lee.
Yep, so the next one we're going to do is, I want to know what you found the most interesting parts of the pod so far. So we've got, first one, favourite chats we've had.
Ooh. I'm going to be honest, I really enjoyed George's chat. I did, because I had a few skepticisms about agencies. I didn't really know George that well, and I thought she had some quite interesting perspectives, because we pretty much, we maybe not the same with Justin and with Lee. We all, with Georgia, we do the same thing, really. We're going in the same venues, the same pubs, and she had some quite interesting angles on whether it's payment methods, whether it's just dealing with crowds. I thought that was interesting to me. But at the same time, you've then got Justin Crowe that we've had on, that's been all around the world. He's played with some, like famous singers from the 60s and whatever else. So on the flip side, very different to what we do, but massively interested in a different way.
Yeah, I think George's was one of my favourite, because it was like the peak. I'm not actually sure that that's on this season.
No, it is. It's already been George's.
Of course it has, yeah. What am I talking about? It was the last one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so George's was I felt like it was one of the smoothest chats we've had. It was hard to pick this one, because every chat's been interesting, because we've had such a different angle. But I've really enjoyed speaking to Shelley LaFay, because it was the first guest that neither of us knew.
Definitely, yeah.
But then, yeah, like you say, we've learnt so much about these people. Did we even know them before? And I think as well, I really enjoyed Justin's, like you say, because of the trips around the world. But one of my other favourites was talking to Lee Jones, because it was so much about the scene, how it was, and what you can see why bands get annoyed at fees, because he was playing in the 1990s on a Tuesday night, and on a Saturday night now he's still getting he's just about getting more than what the fee was then. And it was the stories about the original music, and the trip to London was a particular favourite.
We'll pop that in now for you.
There was a guy called Dougie Daggers, and he's
What a name!
What a name! And he fit his name perfectly. God bless his soul. But again, these characters were around, and it was a different scene. It was a different scene. It wasn't as much of your acoustic solo artists and things like that. There was much more of a push for getting a band together and writing your own thing, and just still loads of good covers bands around though. Really good cover artists, good solo. What's I can't remember his name now, but there's a couple of really good songwriters around in Preston at the time as well. And the Lamb was full of jazz, funk, blues bands every week.
And would that be maybe in the week as well? Because you don't get as much weekday music maybe now, do you?
My dad would take me out, for a Coke, because I was 16, 17. So he'd literally take me out on a Tuesday. And he said, free parking around tonight. And I mean, free parking. There's a guy called Norman Helm on bass, and another local, sort of, to me, a legend, Great bass player, unbelievable. But he would always be in these funky, really, to be honest, he could play anything. But there was all these different musicians that would play, funk, jazz, really good good stuff.
So, obviously, we said it. We've asked about the types of bands around. Really, there's only sort of one venue, I suppose, in Preston that's really known now, and that's the Ferret.
Yeah.
How many of that type of venue was there for original music? Because obviously, you were mainly playing.
What was good when we were playing with Blowback, so that you were round the corner from the Lamb. So it wasn't even you didn't have to pay to get in. It's just a pub, so you could just literally walk between two pubs that were like within spitting distance, and you would have a live band on Friday and Saturday night for definite, but they would have bands on all week. So you just walk up and down and just go and have a pint in there, go and see what's going on, you know. And so they were the two main small venues. The whole scene was, I think there was so many more dance halls. The act of going out was people actually danced, and they also, there was a circuit. You know, I can remember talking to a guy I was at a computer course learning how to use Windows. It was this new thing. And but he was talking, he obviously knew I was into bands, and he was talking about, he said, we used to just literally, there was a funny story there with Stan's in jail and Vans, funny anyway, but but he was saying that you'd literally you'd just go and chip in, buy a Bedford van or a tranny van,
right, yeah,
and you just go and hit the road, and there would be like a few venues in every town, because that's where everybody went to hear the music, or you'd have a jukebox, but that'd be in the cafe. So things have they've come on so much.
How did you get the gigs? Did you go in with a CD or a tape?
So
did you go through agencies?
No, well, we tried agencies, but it was more. We did a few gigs in Manchester, so it was more that we got a couple of Friday nights. We played the Night and Day a couple of times when I was with Stans in jail. But it was it's a decent venue. We got and again, like you say, we're an original band. Nobody knew really who we were, but everybody knew that the Night and Day was a good night out. Yeah. So if you're there on a Friday night, you'd have an audience. You'd have people that would come and check you out. You know. Yeah. But I suppose the main things with us was Wednesday, Thursdays was like showcase nights, Roundhouse. Is it the Boardwalk? Is it Boardwalk in Manchester?
Yeah, there is. Still going that venue.
The Star as well. Is it the Star? See, it's all changed now. But there's is that in Blackpool? I can't remember. But there was a few venues that would put 4 or 5 bands on. And you just get your half an hour slot.
I see, and try and impress sort of.
And you just go and and so you'd all play to each other's mates basically. Yeah. We did a couple of them in London. We tried it, like our hand in London. But it's the same crack. It's all very long shot stuff, to be honest. Yeah. You'd make a demo, you'd go to a studio somewhere in Liverpool. We'd recorded a couple of times in Manchester. Say a weekend of 2 sort of 10-hour sessions. Got a demo together. And then you try and push that. It's that kind of.
It's tough going.
It can be tough going. But it's I don't know. It's the fun in it.
Definitely,
I think it's so much easier now, but it's also very fragmented, very split, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an oversaturation, isn't it? But you can just ping things to people, can't you?
But you can ping it out there, there's a freedom to that.
Right. So the next one is the favourite topic episode we've done.
Oh yeah, bloody hell! It's a blast from the past, isn't it? We hadn't done one of them for a while. So we had vocal health. Oh, this is easy. This one, things that can go wrong at a gig for me. It was funny that. Just good to realise that you're not mental yourself, because it's happening to everybody, everywhere, every weekend.
Yeah, I think that one and the vocal health one was probably an interesting one, but just the stories that were coming in, because we did try and get prepared for that one, but we couldn't get anything until like the last night or the morning of the episode. Yeah. So there was all these stories flying in the chats, and I just remember sort of like crying with laughter at some of them, like just after waking up in the morning. My missus is like there, like going, "What are you laughing about?" I'm there, like literally physically crying with laughter about 3 of these stories. But I've got to say there were some brilliant ones, which again we'll talk about later. But that episode was just, for me, like probably one of the funniest episodes we've had.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. Is there a particular part of that? Obviously, that's the first time we actually asked fellow musicians to not write in, but we asked for a quote off them, didn't we, of their worst gig experiences. Was there a particular story that stood out to you with that one?
There was 2. I think the first one that came through was from Callum Codd. he's in a band called The Racket and Witness. And the rack of lights at the Cavern falling on his head. And then Liam Hilyar's riot story. If you haven't seen that episode, just... we'll put a clip up in a minute.
Well, yeah, we actually clipped that up on YouTube as well as a separate video. So what I'll do is I'll link that. It should be above here, so I'll link it there for you.
This is genius. I once played a gig at a pub. Within 2 songs, I snapped a string on my guitar, then my battery died on my guitar. The pub had a spare guitar to save restringing during the gig. Snapped a string on that about 6 songs later. Then 2 songs from the end, the pub got raided by the police.
Oh, God.
I laughed this much when I read it as well.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
raided for what drugs, I'm guessing?
They tried to arrest some man, and the man was resisting, and a full-on Royal Rumble was going on between the police and the customers as they was getting thrown over the tables and on the floor whilst I was playing Mr. Brightside, because the bar staff told me to carry on. And the policeman shouting at me, "Listen, mate, shut the fuck up," as he couldn't call for backup. Oh, really? Because all I could hear on the radio was me playing Mr. Brightside. I won't name the pub. And that is from Liam Hillier. Liam, funny. That is absolutely brilliant. This one is coming from Callum Codd. He's a member of the Witness band, The Racket. A great little... I think they're a punk band, but they're sort of indie punk, really.
Yeah.
Played a show at the Cavern, and the full rack of stage lights fell down mid-song and hit me on the head. I even had to fill in the accident book on the stage to add insult to the wound.
So this is mid-performance?
Mid-performance.
Wow. Were they heavy lights? Like,
I can
fucking hell.
Jeez. Oh, that one, when I read it, was... I burst out laughing.
Right, we're back.
Right, okay. So the favourite topic one led on to the funniest moments.
Right, yeah.
Which is one that I'd have. Right. Funniest comments made by a guest. Oh, there's only one that sticks out in this one for me.
If we're on the same page here, then you probably won't appreciate us saying this, because I think afterwards, on reflection, he was a bit like, "Why did I say that?" But it's got to be Chris Healy's Michael Jackson quote.
Just watch this one.
Chris Healy's quite not a serious. He isn't a serious guy, but you just didn't expect it to come out of his mouth at that moment.
Yeah.
What did he say? Michael Jackson touches kids, so I don't like him.
The only reason I don't like Michael Jackson is because he nonces kids. But just like, no, it's just got to go out there. It was funny.
It was funny, to be fair. And any others you can... I mean, we've had pretty light-hearted chats with everybody, really, haven't we? Lee Jones, we had a good laugh with him. He was good. And George had plenty of laughs as well, to be fair. So
yeah, there was a few laughs in George's episode. There was another funny comment. I'm going to take the guest part out of this, but your one where you misunderstood Morris dancing.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Shelley will appreciate that one. That was another challenge, wasn't it, for getting her footage and stuff like that.
Oh, God, yeah. So, yeah, it was the Morrissey dancing, weren't it? Which,
Morrissey dancing there. So those 2 clips definitely stood out for me.
Yeah, we'll throw them in there. I think it was quite funny how Georgia wrote the song about her current boyfriend, and he hasn't got a clue. I wonder if he's seen that, but that was quite funny as well.
Georgia, if you're listening, hope you're all right.
Yeah.
And Steve, I know Georgia's boyfriend. Steve, I hope you're all right as well. I hope you two can work it out.
We can work it out. Right, we'll run a couple of those clips for you now. Can't wait to edit this.
Prince or Michael Jackson?
Michael Jackson. Yeah, the only reason I don't like Michael Jackson is because he fiddled kids. But but I'm allegedly. Yeah. Just in case any lawyers.
We've been taken off YouTube.
Bang. Straight in.
I actually wrote it about sort of like being in a relationship, but your sort of like values don't add up. And, wait till he sees this. He doesn't know it's about him.
Okay. Well, let you cross that bridge when you get home.
I know you said obviously you were into your Morrissey dancing and stuff. Is there any artist?
Morrissey dancing. What, the guy out of the Smiths?
Yeah,
Morris dancing.
There we go. Clip that up. We've got about 7 minutes left on recording. We're going to try and keep this short and sweet today, as it is a little bit of a recap before our next batch of episodes go out. So, well, have we got any more?
Right, so there was one about stories, but we've kind of covered the one about the stories. Right, funniest moments for me. Well, one of them hasn't come in, but we did try and record an episode with a certain special guest. But I've got to say, the introduction of Amy Shithouse.
Oh, yeah. Was it Amy Shithouse? It was Lady Gargle, wasn't it?
Amy Shithouse. We haven't introduced Gargle in this series.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Amy Shithouse when Chris Healy was on.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
What a character.
Oh, yeah. What a lady. What a woman.
What a woman. She's just a great woman.
I've got first-hand experience as well. How much of a woman she is.
Yeah, I dealt with a message inside. It was me that got her on. And Chris just looked ever so impressed by this.
He just looked disgusted, didn't he?
And I don't think he's ever been so embarrassed to say anything in his life, to be fair.
Oh, it was funny though, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I think there's a few clips about that one. I think we've got to show the game, part of the game with Shithouse.
Yeah.
And the introduction to Shithouse have got to go in there.
Definitely, let's put it in now.
We're going to introduce Amy Shithouse for you.
Oh no.
Are you, babe? You alright?
Oh my god. Jesus Christ.
Are you? You're right.
You're right, mate.
So, Amy, what have you brought us today then?
Right, well, we're going to do a little game. So I'm going to be describing a song and you've just got to guess it.
Right, okay.
So basically, Amy's you're a bit of a bitcher, aren't you? To be fair, you bitch about everything, Facebook, all the rest. So you're going to try and bitch out a song, and you've got to guess what the song is.
I've got a real treat for you here. So,
you've not got your hair up today, Amy.
No, I thought I'd have it down today.
Yeah.
I just
Let your hair
gets
down.
a bit hard work.
Yeah.
You know.
Bit of a shit result at the weekend as well.
I don't want to talk about that. So did you bastard.
Yeah, true.
So, anyway. Right, so there's this girl, and she can, you know what, she can fuck off, she can just hold her horses a little bit. I thought about this one, I swear. She can just hold her horses a little bit. Because she knows it's gone well past the time. And, you know what I say? Just let it go after that. Let it go after the moment. So just stand up, bite fire, and wipe that fucking shitty look off your face.
That's the key, isn't it? That bit.
It might be.
That look.
Might be, I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost there.
Don't look back in anger.
Correct.
Yes!
Oasis, you should be banned from doing Oasis.
I said maybe. There you go, I'm the winner. What do I win?
Right, okay, we're back.
Right.
Hope you enjoyed Lee's cross-dressing. Nothing wrong with that these days, Lee.
What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah,
I don't know what you're on about. That was Amy Shithouse, wasn't it? Never. I've not actually got to meet her in person yet.
Oh.
So yeah, it's been very true. Lee and Amy Shithouse have never been in the same room together.
They haven't.
At the same time.
They're either having a secret affair or they're the same person.
Right, so the one I wanted to get onto was worst moments. Now, we briefly touched on one of them, but I think the first really bad moment was losing Shelley's footage.
Yeah, so Shelley LaFay, big shout out. She'd come all the way from Manchester, which it had to be that was the episode, didn't it? It couldn't have just been Chris from down the road. And I'd bloody accidentally deleted the footage, so I got home to edit, and the footage had completely gone of Shelley. So it would have just been me and you, because there was 2 cameras. It would have just been me and you talking to nothing. So I had to get as many pictures as I could of Shelley. I was just trolling her Facebook, and barely know the girl, and I'm just trolling her Facebook page like a stalker, clipping up as many photos as I could get. But to be fair, it worked out all right in the end, and we've had her on since. She's in the 2nd series as well.
Yeah.
Little spoiler for you. And, second time round, I think it was it was another good episode as well. So it's one of them, like, it'll never happen again because you have to sort of go through these experiences. I feel like even though I'm experienced now with music and I've had loads of fuck-ups at gigs and stuff, and learnt from them, you'd think it'd be similar sound and stuff, but it's a completely new thing. Like,
that was a bit gut-wrenching because we even tried to recover the footage and it just didn't
I nearly
work.
paid for some software, and it was quite a bit of money, but I think even if I'd have paid for it, it wouldn't have been able to have brought it back.
No.
So I'm just glad I didn't buy it. Like, you know.
Yeah, definitely. But
she was good about it though, Shelley, to be fair. So I appreciate that, Shelley, and looking forward to seeing your episode in the next series.
Yeah, so we'll go to a clip of that. Luke, have so much fun editing this one.
That's good.
I do have a little bit of a bugbear at tribute bands because it's like, it's fine. I understand why people would want them at like their wedding or something like that, but it's just like, can't we make room for like new stuff? Do we have to keep rehashing the old?
No, that's a good point. You're in an ABBA tribute band, aren't you? So.
Are you?
It's not really.
No. Definitely not.
So excited. It's ready to eat my words.
Stop crushing people's dreams.
No, it's fair enough. It's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because obviously, I don't really go into Manchester that much, but when you go to like Matthew Street in Liverpool and you've got all the Beatles covers and everything else, like it is a completely different market, isn't it? You know, and I've always found the concept strange. I mean, I'm getting into writing, but it's not really been a big thing for me. But I didn't know until fairly recently that you don't really get paid for doing original gigs, or not often. And it's a strange concept, isn't it? Because there's a lot more effort that goes into writing your own music. But
awful. It's backwards. It's completely.
But it just seems to be the way it is, and there's no manoeuvre in that, is there? What are your Well, obviously I know what your feelings are going to be, but can you talk a little bit about like the reasons why that might be? And
I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I was going to apply for this festival a little while ago, and like, you know, it's like a fairy folky kind of festival, so I was like, well, I'll fit right in. And I looked at the bands they had on in the past, and all the headliners were like tribute acts. And I was like, oh, fuck off. I don't want anything to do with you idiots. It's just I don't know why that would be.
No.
I think it's so depressing.
Hope you enjoyed a little bit of Shelley's episode there. What was it she said about the Roland Street Cube? And she said she had a rolling... What was it?
You thought it was a rolling street cube. I was like, no, Luke, it's not. The amp just doesn't roll like that. And then you're like, oh, Roland.
What a brand. Have you got any more?
Yep. So there's been a few technical issues which we've glitched over one of them. Yeah. Which was obviously the compression issue.
Yeah.
And we've obviously done the mic placement, but what other things have kind of gone wrong in an episode? I remember there was one we've had to stop an episode where, was it George's mic just kept going down and down and down?
We'd put a mic on a mic stand similar to what, well, it was the same as what Lee's got today. And I mustn't have just tightened it up enough, and I was just thinking to myself, is that mic getting lower and lower? It was like coming out of the shot.
And then if you watch that episode back, you'll just see Luke go to the camera, we'll just have to stop this episode.
But do you know what I saw in the editing as well was obviously I can move the footage along and I could just see the mic going like that. You know, like the sun going down. Just like
a sped up sunset.
Another one as well. Justin's mic had completely done a 360 in the thing. So again, we mustn't have tightened something enough, and the mic just started moving round. So say the front of the mic obviously is here, the front of the mic had turned around all the way here. So he was just talking into the back of the microphone that didn't pick up sound. So
what was the other one? Was it where Lee was we hadn't quite got the focus settings on the camera right, and then Lee was almost out of focus, and you had to do a hell of a lot of editing to get that
to make
right.
him into some 80s VCR type thing, you know.
Mate.
Yeah, but to be fair, we've recovered stuff well, and it's only going to get better from here, really. So
I think we should just show the clip of George's mic just going down.
Yeah, I might take some digging, but we'll have a look. Right, Lee. What have we got next?
Last one. I'm sure this is more off air, to be honest, but we've had issues, haven't we, where we've forgotten stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So the first one I can remember, like you always had to at the beginning remind me to take my interface.
Interface, yeah.
So I've had to go back for that. Like almost got to the studio, and you like, oh yeah, remember your interface.
Yeah. So most people know what an interface is, but it's basically what you plug your mic into to then get it into the laptop. So I don't know why I bought it, but I've got like a single channel interface, so I can only put one mic into it. I think at the time I was just like, oh, well, I'm only going to be singing on my own. Could have really done with something bigger if I'd have known what we were going to be doing now. So we've had to basically use both of our interfaces. And do you not connect yours up at home and do recording at home? So
not so much now. I do every now and then for demos for like before the Impact, or if I have to do like a little acoustic demo of anything, then I'll do it. I did used to do all my recordings from home,
right?
But then I've started forking out money to use producers, and then you're paying for them to hire the studio and all sorts, and so I can effectively record guitar and vocal at the same time. But
yeah, basically we can't do the podcast. What my point was is we can't do it without it. So it'd be like having to drive 25 minutes each way to go and get a bloody tiny box and stuff like that.
So I've forked out a shitload in petrol doing that.
I forgot camera stands as well, and you end up balancing it on something, just hoping that it's not going to fall off because you're balancing it on this bloody thing.
The funniest one was Lee's episode where we had to run out to get an XLR from Chris Healy. We interrupted his lesson. He didn't. Apparently, he wasn't best pleased by that. But
was he not? Did I say that?
Yeah. I hope you're all right, Chris, and we're really sorry for interrupting you.
So I did this lesson. Like chariots of, because the guests had already arrived, and I'd done this chariots of fire run across Chorley to his studio to get this bloody lead, and he was like teaching this young kid like a lesson, and I had to knock on the door and be like, "Sorry, Chris, can I borrow a wire?" And he didn't look best pleased, to be fair, but cheers for that, Chris, appreciate it.
Yeah, he saved the episode. Right. Is there any other struggles you can think of from me?
Struggles? There's been plenty, to be fair. Like, they crop up all the time. I'd say if you're going to do you know what? Somebody contacted me a while ago and said, I'm looking to start a podcast. And the first thing I thought was, good luck with that, mate, because unless you've got a little bit... Well, you can do a little start-up, but if you're going to be serious about it, there's so much you need to learn about sound. Stuff, we work in music, but there's stuff that we've had to learn about sound, videography, all sorts of social media stuff. I mean, it's all useful stuff to learn in this day and age, but you've really got to commit to the cause, and there's going to be so many things that go wrong at the start. I think regardless of how prepared you feel, there's so much stuff that can go wrong. Like, just keep going with it, basically.
Yeah, the fact is, as long as you're enjoying it, it doesn't matter how hard you're working, but the workload that goes into making this podcast happen is far beyond what we expected at the beginning. And I think you just have to get something that you really enjoy, even if it is a basic setup to begin with. Just try and get it sounding really good, really clear, and get the picture as clear as you can possibly get it. Just remember, the better quality that you can get everything, the better it'll come out, and the more people will want to watch and listen to you.
I think it's subconscious more than anything. Like, the podcasts that I watch, like, they're not... Some of them aren't, like, incredible productions, but it's the sound for me. Like, if you're listening to something for an hour and a half and there's something really annoying in the audio, that's the thing that would kill a podcast if I was listening to somebody else's.
I think that's why you can have DIY music videos and all that get really good views, because, I mean, the Snuts had got a massive budget from their record label to do their music video for Somebody Loves You, but they chose to give out money to different charities and raise money for different charities and filmed the whole music video on mobile phones. But because the production of the track was so good and the idea and the concept was so good, it did make a difference for them.
I think so.
So they ended up with millions of views on it. But I think, that is probably the one thing I would say. It doesn't have to be 4K HD quality. If you've only got a budget for a small camera, just get a decent enough mic and get really good at editing audio, because it does make a difference. And I've probably got an ear now for what you hate. And like, sometimes you have to tweak it a little bit, but generally we're there now.
So the way it generally works is you do the audio editing, I do the video editing. I'm not an expert on video by any means, but you've got more experience with sound, and it's the main thing with speech is sibilance, so your S's, your T's, and we've worked out where it sits in the frequency spectrum now, haven't we? And if you can just get rid of those harsh sounds, I feel like subconsciously people will tend to listen to it for longer, because it's annoying on the ear after a while. And I think that's what we struggle with at the start as well, finding them frequencies, getting them out, but it makes the world a difference.
Yeah, and hence the compression argument, because you're trying to fight with these things. You feel like you've got it right, but every episode is different. Every guest voice is different, the way they speak. So we had Lee Jones and Justin Crowe, who's talked more quietly, whereas the rest of our guests have probably been a lot more confident and loud. So then you have to compress theirs differently, you have to EQ them differently, particularly with like the female to male sort of frequency range. You've then got to work out where the annoying frequencies are and get rid of them.
Definitely. Obviously, it goes without saying, the room plays a big part as well, and we're hoping that on this episode, this mic here is taking away most of the room, and we're just getting a flatter response. That's what these mics are meant to be good for. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But investing in stuff, I think in the long term is worth it. But
100%. Yeah. And also just keep your topics really simple. I'd say is probably the thing for anyone looking to start a podcast. 100% do it. It's so much fun, but just realise the work, and also keep your topics really simple. So if you're going to have a guest, like, get a template of what you want to talk about, and like an order of how you're going to talk about things. So maybe from the early part of the person's life, get to a beginning, a middle, and an end somehow. And you'll have a much more free-flowing podcast, and you'll just be able to have a conversation then.
I'd love it if on the end of this epispisode, I'm out of focus, you're out of focus. Sounds awful.
And my arms are going everywhere, and my face is just blurred.
Man. So going forward then, Lee, what can we expect in the future? What are we looking to improve on? Where are we looking to take the podcast?
Yeah, for me, that was actually the next part I was going to come to. So you've obviously done your homework and read the itinerary. I think we can just expect guests getting better and better. We're aiming to get more high-profile guests on as well. Not that the ones that we've had on, that's no disrespect to them, but we've been in touch with a few people who've done really, really well in their field.
We want to keep to the message of the podcast. So even if we do eventually get some bigger ones on, it'd be nice to talk about their experiences at a lower level, because if they're high profile, you're going to probably know the majority of their story anyway.
Yeah, you want to find out the grind that they've had to go through, rather than what they're doing now necessarily. Like Justin Crowe's a prime example of that. So he's obviously got to a level where he's playing all over the world, but the amount of work in men's clubs he would have played in before he got onto that stage in Brazil, in Israel, or wherever, that's what we're trying to keep. I think we can expect probably more of the stuff towards the end of last series or season, whatever you want to call it, where it was just getting to a good standard in terms of it was more free-flowing chats. There was just a bit of a laugh and very relaxed atmosphere with it, and the quality of the sound was getting better and better, I felt.
100%. So in terms of moving the podcast forward then, what are our plans for the next... I mean, the next series is only going to really have 5 guests in it, and the episodes that we've already filmed so far, we won't name the guests, but they've been great, haven't they? They've been good episodes.
Superb.
We've learnt a lot. In terms of production and stuff like that, is there anything you want to improve on? We've just invested in this mic, as you say. It'd be nice, hopefully, if it sounds good, it'd be nice to invest in a couple more of these mics.
Maybe get our own camera instead of borrowing Steffi's. Steffi's kindly lent us a room as well. So it'd be nice if we could actually use our own gear in here as well. And
cameras aren't cheap, man.
No, it's
I think I was still paying this camera off until about a couple of months ago, and I bought it about 3 years ago or something on Klarna.
Like sometimes when we're not playing Wembley Stadium, mate, we have to get these things on finance, don't we?
I know.
And then you've got to make sure the money's there for the finance.
Exactly.
So
but yeah, I think it'd be nice to toy around a little bit with lighting as well. Not obviously we've got lights, but maybe some sort of neon lighting or something to just give it a little bit of an edge. But we're trying to improve it all the time. You know, I think something I've really worked on in the last couple of weeks as well is like working on our social media side. So like clipping up bits of episodes. I was looking at some comedy podcasts. We should give a mention actually. There's he's called Carl Porter. He went to my school. He's just gone massively viral on Instagram and TikTok. He won't know me, but he might do. But he was one of my best mates at school, and I saw him blow up the other day on TikTok or whatever it was with his what was he doing? He was imitating a football celebration.
A goal celebration. It was a fantastic impression of it, to be fair.
And I noticed he'd been on a couple of comedy podcasts, and I was just looking at what they do social media wise to get engagement, and it's all clipping up parts of episodes. And it's little things like getting the thumbnails of the pictures of even Instagram videos up and putting captions on videos and just trying to bring people to the podcast, because you can put your episodes out and leave it at that.
Yeah.
But if you're not giving people a taster of it, they're not just going to go, do you know what? I'll just go and have a look at that podcast. You're going to have to give them a reason to get there, aren't you?
And I think that's why we've seen the growth in the last, the last few episodes really have kind of got that growth because we've been able to get more content out.
Well, Georgia was our highest viewed episode, and I would put a lot of work in behind the scenes to kind of get clips out of her during the episode.
And also Georgia sharing it
that's
really
important
helps
as well. It is important.
I think that interaction is what I want. More than anything, you know, we do this to give our listeners something. So, like, it'd be nice for our listeners to actually get involved, get in the comments, and actually suggest things that they want to know about what it's like.
Yeah.
You know, what do you want to hear? What topics do you want to hear? What games do you want? Have you got any games that we could turn into musical-related games that we can play on this podcast? Because if you get them a part of it, like, they can almost feel like they've been a part of that.
No, I agree.
Almost like producers.
If obviously you know what we're about now a little bit. So if you want to email any suggestions into the podcast for games, episodes, you don't have to do our work for us, but just anything you'd like to see on the podcast, it's tomscastmusic@gmail.com, or just contact us on our social medias. We'll always reply to anybody. So give us a shout if there's anything you want to see. Or if you're sat at home and you've not been on the podcast yet, we're getting a little bit booked up, which is good with guests. Yeah. But if you want to come on, then by all means, we'll have you on the podcast. We want to be a voice for everybody. We don't want to exclude. I think we've got a DJ coming on at some point as well. It's not just, you know, typical live instrumental music, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
I think as well, by the way, the social medias are at TomsCast1. As well, we've got a gig, haven't we, Luke? We've got one at the White Bear in Adlington, and that's is it November?
It's the 24th of November, I believe. It's the White Bear in Adlington. So we'll talk a little bit about our last gig. We did a gig at Exton Beer Festival, or X-Fest as it's called. So that was me granddad on acoustic drum, Lee on backing vocals and electric guitar, and me on rhythm and vocal. And it was a class gig, weren't it, mate? It was really
fantastic. Good. Well, I bought a couple of new pedals for that because I was switching between guitars. It was like I bought this little switching pedal so I could sort of mute it while I was switching guitars. And I could also have two guitars plugged in at the same time. But I also brought this octave pedal, which really I felt like expanded the sound. And we
were loud and proud, weren't we?
Oh, it was so
I just felt like I don't get to play in... It's not a band per se, is it? We're a trio, really, but... I'm used to solo acoustic or a bit of a duo acoustic, and I just thought we would just give it some, and it was like felt good, like, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm so used to playing rhythm guitar, so it was nice to get on the lead guitar and actually step back from vocals again. Well, I do that obviously with Flash Floods, but I do more solo gigs, so it was just nice to play a gig with a different angle and just experiment with stuff because. You know, I wanted to get better at guitar, and I feel like our voices as well, the harmonies are now complementing each other. Me and your granddad have noticed us sort of getting that, like all three of us really, they're like connections bouncing off, and
Definitely.
I think Post Malone has been a highlight as well. Just playing
definitely.
Post Malone, man, it's such a fun song to play.
Absolutely. So, you know, we've built something that's enabled us to play live. You know, if I look back to this time last year, I was going out singing on my own every weekend. And if you go forward, like, you know, we've built duos, trios. We've got this podcast up and running. It's been a good first season. We're looking forward to what the future brings as well. We'd also like to shout out Stephanie Collette as well, who helps us hire. She doesn't help us. She gives us this studio to use for podcast days. She's in here today editing, and she's always really accommodating. So we want to give her a shout out. She's at, I think I said on the advert, Blue Light Cafe, but it's not. It's Blue House Cafe. So she works above there. She can do photo shoots. She can pretty much do anything with web design and photography, videography. Anything else, Steffi? I can't think of anything
What's the
else.
website called, Steffi?
It's www.stephaniecollette.com. Is that right? There we go. Yeah. Anything you want to add, Lee?
Keep following. Keep watching.
Yep.
Keep enjoying and come and see us at the White Bear.
At the White Bear, yeah. 24th of November we'll be there as a trio. So, yeah. And we need to get some QR codes and stuff to stick on our guitar cases, and it all counts, doesn't it?
I think we need a Grandad social media camera. Social media
He gets the most attention at the gigs at the minute, you know. Yeah, literally, it's all the compliments that usually come to me have just been completely, like, shifted.
I think we need Grandad on the pod as well. I think we need to get him on as a guest.
That's got to be a special, that, isn't it?
I think everyone in Chorley will be wanting to watch that next thing.
He's got quite a following in Great Yarmouth as well, but that's another thing, yeah.
Expanding.
Yeah. Right, shall we call it there?
I think that's a pod, mate.
Yeah, thanks for watching season 1, and we look forward to bringing you season 2 very soon. Thank you very much.
See you soon.